I should probably not be steering off that way and I keep forgetting. Spoiler alert, I forget again. I filmed 2 videos this night and I look in the wrong direction like 99% of the time. In my defense, I haven't filmed like this in years and I don't have time to film again, so I hope you all don't mind. Hi, I'm Couch Potato Chan and I am cosplaying as Rimuru from That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime. Recently, I made the slime version of this cosplay. I'll put up a video here of what it looks like. When I made that cosplay, I needed a mold so that I could create the pattern. So I used some air dry clay and I molded it into a little Rimuru shape. I had that air dry clay laying around my house and I thought it would be a pretty good idea to make use of it. So I decided to make this little Rimuru. He's shiny. I think he's a bit cute. He's heavy because he's that air dry clay, so I plan to not only use him as decoration, but also use him to hold my fabric down as I cut, or you know, just general crafty stuff for when I do cosplay. It was a little bit of trial and error to make him because I kind of was just using what I had around the house and I was trying to make it as inexpensive as possible. I thought it would be a good idea to film the process and tell you how I did it. Maybe it can help you in your crafting process or in your cosplay making process. Cosplay making process. There you go. So this is what I started with. The clay took about a day to dry into the shape and I had to check on it and move it around a couple of times so all of the sides dried. I left cut marks on it when I used a box cutter to take the Rimuru pattern off. You can see them here and some of them are pretty deep. If you intend to make one for yourself, you will likely not deal with having deep marks like this. But if for some reason you need to fit in error or adjust the shapes, some of these steps could help you. Here I am trying some sandpaper I got from the dollar store. The black one was an immediate no, so I tried a smaller grain. If you end up needing to do any sanding, you will need to work outside and if possible, wear a mask. Sanding was the most effective method I found for evening out areas in the clay and getting rid of marks. But let's go ahead and speed over this because nobody wants to sit here and watch me sand all day. There you go, much better. Now, I tried to be careful with my sanding as I did not want to ruin Rimuru's shape and have a lopsided slime. If you were wondering if this precision was hard to film in, yes it was. I gotta think of a better angle or something for next time around. But anyways, I tried to show some of the deep marks here that I knew I was not going to be able to sand off, not without ruining the shape at least. Knowing this, I knew I had to find a way to fill them. But I didn't want to spend another $10 on buying more air dry clay, knowing that I was only going to use a little bit of it. I ain't about wasting like that, so I had to find a different way. So once I had my Rimuru as smooth as I was willing to make him, I moved on. I had recently visited my dad and he went over using a caulking gun with me. With this new knowledge in mind and remembering I had some caulking that I got at the dollar store a while back, I thought I would put it to use. This one I have was more than plenty if you end up needing to fill any cracks or holes. I started by cutting a small hole. Better to start small than for it to be too big. I then squeezed some of it directly onto the mold on the areas that had deep marks. The hole was a little too small so you can see me struggling here, but I get it eventually. I also put some on the gap at the bottom, but let's speed up because this is gonna take a while. I used my finger to press and smooth it out, but of course you can use gloves. I also kept some water nearby so I could clean off my hands as I worked on it. The water also helps with smoothing it out. If I do this again, maybe a napkin too, so I'm not shaking the water everywhere. But yes, you just continue the process of adding some and smoothing it out. Side note, but I don't know if you can see my cat Toby over here on the right staring at me while I work. He's such a cute boy. Okay, let's get back to the actual topic. I had to keep in mind that I couldn't cover all the holes at once as I needed to place it down when waiting for the caulk to dry. So I did the bottom and the sides, but not the top. My dad had taught me that with a sponge and water, you can smooth it out and leave a pretty nice finish. At first I tried this blue sponge because it was the first one I found, but it was a terrible idea. It left little blue bits behind that I was never able to fully take off, so I quickly gave up on this one. I had a bunch of foam scraps left after I made the big Rimuru, so once I actually remembered, I got a little piece of it and got to work with it. This worked amazingly and left a pretty smooth finish. It even helped to get some of those blue bits off from the other sponge. I'm sure you can find some cheap foam at the dollar store too. Maybe some of that paint sponges could work. I try to keep expenses as low as possible when it comes to small projects like this, so I buy a lot of materials from the dollar store if that wasn't obvious enough. During this process, I would work on it and wait about 15 minutes for it to dry before adding more. Of course, follow the instructions that's indicated on your packaging, but that's what mine said. When smoothing it out with the sponge, make sure you do a wiping motion. Patting down will leave imprints of the sponge behind. You will find the right pressure to use. Pushing too hard when smoothing it out will remove too much of the caulking. And make sure you have water nearby to rinse off the sponge as you work. You will get some of the excess on your sponge, so you'll want that water to take it off. I think pretty much anybody can do this. There's not that much of a learning curve. So you just continue the process until you're happy with the results, and once your mold is dry, you're ready to paint. I like to have water, a napkin, paint, and paintbrushes when I set up my area. Lastly, and very importantly, scrap paper to protect my working area. I started by painting my Rimuru in the color Caribbean, a matte acrylic paint. Personally, I like to show the errors I make during my projects, as I find that showing the mistakes I make, even as someone that has been painting for years, might help other crafters out there remind them that it is okay to make mistakes. At least it helps me to know that other people make the same kind of mistakes I do. So if you can't tell right now, this color is totally off for Rimuru. He'd be looking more like a Smurf than a Rimuru slime. But we'll get back to that. First, I wanted to point out how useful it was to have a sheet of paper underneath to be able to rotate Rimuru as I painted him. So I'm definitely gonna keep this in mind for my next painting projects. When you're done with a coat of paint, you can wait for it to dry, or if you're impatient like me, place a fan in front of it to help it dry faster. So let's get back to my mistake. This is the image that I was using as inspiration for this project. It's of a licensed figure from Good Smile that I wanted and wasn't able to get. With that as reference, you can see that the color is totally off. I didn't have the shade of blue that matched the color I wanted my figure to be, so I had to mix colors to make my own. I used the Caribbean blue from earlier, true blue, and white in equal parts to make my new shade. You can see here that I had to do a bit of trial and error to get the shade that I wanted before I came to the conclusion that a 3-part mixture gave me the best shade. It takes about 2 coats of paint to evenly paint him, and of course you have to do the painting in 2 parts so you can get the bottom. Once the color was evenly placed, I put him in front of a fan again to dry. To make Rimuru's face, I first drew it on with a pencil. This was one of the hardest part, as some of my medication has made my hands super shaky. Using my leg as support helped, but I was bound to make mistakes, so using a pencil meant I could erase and try again. I needed some reference pictures, so I took out my iPad and pulled out some pictures so I knew how to draw his face. Once I was happy with what I had, I was ready to paint it on. I used some matte black acrylic paint and a very thin brush to draw on the face. When I finished the eyes, I moved on to the blush. I again drew this part on with pencil first before painting it in. With some matte acrylic baby pink, I filled in the blushies very carefully. I like to use my nail to fix little errors, so that's what you see me doing right here. And there you have him. Now we just need to wait for him to dry. The last step is to make him shiny and give him a protective coat all in one. I use this acrylic sealer with a gloss finish, but there are other brands that do the same thing. Again, you're gonna need something to protect the area that you're working on. I have brand new concrete and I don't want to ruin it by leaving marks. I learned this the hard way a while back, so make sure you put something down because otherwise it's going to stain your concrete. When working with this type of spray, you're gonna want to do thin, even coats and wait the instructed time in between coats as indicated in the instructions. I wanted to make sure it was really dry in between coats, so I put a fan on it while it dried. And here I am on a different day because I forgot I was working on this project during one of the in-between coat break. This took way more coats than I expected, but I was being super careful with not making the coats too heavy, as I had made this mistake before and the acrylic sealer never truly dried in that previous project. But it was totally worth it, cause look at him, he's so cute. So yes, that's how I made this little Rimuru. I hope something in there was helpful or useful and you liked the video. I'm planning to make a lot more videos like this. I have a lot of projects that I've been wanting to make and I've been procrastinating on, but I find making videos very motivating. So, for example, one of my upcoming projects is to remake this guitar because I made this a long time ago and it is now falling apart. I plan to make it with better materials. I want to to be really nice and sturdy so that I can hang it somewhere on the wall. That's something to look forward to. So if you don't want to miss it, make sure to subscribe so you actually see it. Feel free to check out my Instagram, my TikTok to see other cosplays that I've made in the past or I'm working currently on, or projects that I'm working currently on. I'll leave my social medias on the description, and if you want more videos like this, make sure to give me a like and a subscribe, and I already told you what to comment about. Yeah, I'm so good at this. Also, my makeup did not come out how I wanted it to come out today, but I was very proud of this. I made my lashes blue. Not that it matters because you can't see it, but I was proud of it, so